Exodus, Gods and Kings. Now, when I was watching this movie in the theater, during the climax of the movie, there was one thought that kept going through my head. So yeah, here's that thought to you. Hey there guys, how are you? So let's dive into the biblical epic, Exodus, Gods and Kings. Now this movie stars Christian Bale as Moses, who in one way or another becomes a vigilante once again. Yeah, he's kind of like Batman for the Hebrews, and he rises up against the evil Egyptian pharaoh, Ramses. Before we dive into Exodus and I talk all about the movie, I first wanted to mention a few things. This movie is directed by Ridley Scott, who for me lately has been a hit or miss director. I mean, yeah, this man has made some great, iconic, epic classics of all time. One of those is Gladiator. Alright, now let's dive into Exodus and talk about what this movie's all about. Now, first of all, this movie is a big biblical epic movie that takes place back in ancient times. And I love movies like that. Something about those type of movies just suck you into that story, they immerse you into the environment. You know, you have movies like Gladiator, Troy, Braveheart. I love all of those movies. And now, does Exodus capture that big, epic, ancient time feeling and vibe? Absolutely. One of the most interesting concepts about this movie is you as a viewer get a first-hand look at ancient Egypt. Yeah, you get to see the pyramids being built, the way that their daily lives function, and I love things like that. I love history. I'm one of those weirdos who stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching the History Channel, the Discovery Channel, just learning about random bullshit that I know I'm never going to remember 10 hours after the fact, but I enjoy it. So like I said a few seconds ago, this movie stars Christian Bale as Moses, and once again, Christian Bale does not let you down. This guy's a great character actor. You can tell that he gets immersed into these characters that he's playing. He has this level of intensity, you just buy into it. At times he was a badass, but at other times you're like, yeah, this guy is a true leader. And I would definitely say Christian Bale's performance was by far the best in the movie. Now here's the part where the casting choices get a little bit interesting and a little bit unique. You have actor Joel Edgerton playing an Egyptian pharaoh, Ramses. This is what I want to say about this casting choice. Sometimes you can cast someone outside of the box, but it's about how they portray that character and do they suck you into that story and make you believe what they're saying. Now in all fairness, at first glance, does actor Joel Edgerton look like he should be the first choice to play an Egyptian pharaoh in a movie? Probably not, but you know what? Halfway through this movie, I really forgot about if he was Egyptian or not, and with enough self-tanner caked on his body, I bought into it. Now, when it comes to the character Ramses, he is the antagonist of the film. He is the bad guy. He is the villain. But the thing I like about his character is he's not just pure evil. There is a good side to him here and there. He does have a little bit of humanity at times, even though he's like that typical ancient ruler who's going to murder people to make his point, even though it's not really necessary, but it's like the only thing he knows to do, so he does it. Okay, so before we continue on, I first wanted to quickly cover a few more odd casting choices that were in this movie. One of those is actor Aaron Paul. Yeah, you know, Jesse from Breaking Bad. Bitch. The guy's not a bad actor or anything, but he just felt a little bit out of place in this movie. He has 2 lines, and then at first, when I first seen him, I was like, what the fuck is Jesse Pinkman doing here? So yeah, this movie definitely had some odd casting choices, to say the least, but overall, I think this movie gave some great performances, and no one really stood out as doing a bad job. Now, it's time to talk about the epicness of Exodus, Gods and Kings. That's my movie trailer announcer voice. I'm still working on it. I know it's awful. Now, as far as the big epic tone goes throughout this movie, it definitely will not let you down. It's one of the coolest, most entertaining things about this movie. It's just the scope of the movie and the visuals, because overall this movie, if I had to just judge it on the visuals and the epicness, it'd be an A movie all day long. Yeah, but you gotta factor in other things like the story and little random things that happen throughout it. And one of the coolest segments in this movie is the plague scene. Yeah, you got frogs, you have locusts, you have dead fish, you have a bloody red Nile River, and I thought that was done very well. It was very intriguing. So overall, would I consider Exodus, Gods and Kings an epic movie? Oh yeah, definitely. But that doesn't mean the movie doesn't have some issues. Now, a few issues in this movie. The first act is really good, but then you have the middle act of the movie where you have Moses and he kind of, he escapes Egypt and he kind of goes out on his own. And that lasts for a very, very long time. And you really can feel the minutes adding up. And at times it just drags down the pace and tone of the movie. Now, I originally heard that the first runtime for this movie was 4 hours long. Now, I can only imagine a lot of this movie ended up on the cutting room floor. And does that show throughout this movie? I would say yeah. There's some scenes in this movie where something important happens, or there's an altercation or a confrontation, and it felt like it just happens. Like there's one thing happening and it just jumps into this and you're like, whoa, where was the buildup? Where was the transition? And at times there is none. And I can only imagine that that portion of the movie was cut out just to save time and make a shorter runtime for the film. Okay, so here are my final flick thoughts on the movie Exodus. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It was a little bit better than I thought it would be, and it definitely earns that title of being an epic movie. There's some scenes in this movie, they get bloody, they get gory, and they're well filmed and well executed. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to see in this type of movie. And there's some other things that happen where you're just like, yeah, that was a little bit dwindling at times. And it's definitely one of the more enjoyable biblical movies I've ever seen. So with all that said, I'm going to give the movie Exodus, Gods and Kings, a B. Yeah, the movie has some things wrong with it, but overall, I love epic movies, and that's what this movie gave me. It gave me epicness into my eyeballs. Alright guys, so that's my movie review for Exodus, Gods and Kings. Now here's my question to you, and let me know down below in the comment section, what is your favorite big epic movie of all time? Now, I think most of you would already know the answer to mine, and that's Gladiator. My name is Maximus Meridius Decimus, father to a dead son, husband to a dead wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Now, I paraphrased half of that, but anyway, before I go, I wanted to show you my new Nightcrawler t-shirt that I created. I'll put a link to this down below. You can actually pick it up if you'd like to, but just look at this. Study hands, study hands. Yeah, I just love the character Louis Bloom and the movie Nightcrawler. So anyway, guys, like I said, link to this shirt's down below if you want to check it out for a closer look. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.